You're listening to Attack Friday, actionable tips, tricks, and coachable knowledge. Attack Friday is brought to you by the Change Your POV Podcast Network. And now, let's get ready to attack. Hello, folks. Welcome to Attack Friday, actionable tips, tricks, and coachable knowledge. I am your host, Eddie Lazary.
And I am Bennett Tanton.
And today we're doing something we've never done before. I don't know why it's taken this long to do it. So Bennett and I both are pretty avid listeners of a lot of different podcasts out there, one of which is by Gary Vaynerchuk. He's got this show called it's called Ask Gary Vee. So what it is he's got a blog, or a vlog, I guess is the correct terminology, where he goes on there and he's recorded and he does like these Ask Gary Vees. And then, so it's a video recording, right? And he posts on YouTube, but he also strips the audio out and he turns it into a podcast. So he repurposes his content, which is very smart. And that the audio version becomes now a new brand on a podcast called the Gary Vee Audio Experience.
On this episode, we get two ridiculous questions, long-winded, intense answers, and it ends up being one of the best Ask Gary Vee shows ever.
I've only listened to these on podcasts because I just don't have time to watch videos. I do all my consuming via audio through podcasts. So I've only ever listened to the Gary Vee Audio Experience. I've never actually watched any of his recorded, Gary Vee's on YouTube until this episode, which I want to kind of talk about in a minute because it's a little bit interesting to finally see one instead of just listening to them. And this episode that we're going to be talking about, it aired in February 2018. I don't know when it was recorded. I think he releases them relatively quickly after they're recorded.
Yeah, he doesn't screw around.
Yeah, he doesn't screw around. So my guess is this is very recent. And it's Ask Gary Vee number 278. So you can go to YouTube and just type in Ask Gary Vee 278 and you could see it. Or you can go on the podcast, the Gary Vee Audio Experience, and it's episode 278 as well. As soon as I listened to it, the format, for those of you that aren't familiar with it, the format is he calls people up, and people, I think they tweet him, let him know that,
yeah,
I think they tweet him their number or something like that. There's some social media component there somehow. They tweet him their phone number, and then he calls them, and then they get on the air, and he asks them, or the guests ask Gary questions, and then Gary answers. So this particular episode, there was two guests. The one we're going to be talking about her name is Tiffany, and it's the second phone call. So if you go to the show and you listen to, or you go to the YouTube video, or you go to the podcast and you're listening, he does the first call with some guy named Mondo, I think, and then it's really the second call,
which was a a good call too. But
yeah, it was, yes. But we're not talking about Mondo. We're going to be talking about Tiffany. So
sorry, Mondo.
Yeah, sorry, Mondo. So, I'm going to kick it over to you, Bennett. I forwarded this to you and said, hey, man, listen to this. And this Sunday when we record, because we have our recording scheduled Sunday, 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Every morning is when we record our shows for the next week's release. And I was like, dude, this is a great topic, a great conversation. Listen to this episode, and then we'll kick it around this Sunday.
Can I take this leap? Can I afford it? And there's a lot of scenarios of this, like, some people like Mondo are worried about their parents, and it's a loving thing, which is awesome. Other people are living too fancy of a lifestyle and don't realize that they shouldn't renew their rent, and they should go down $3,000 a month instead of up $2,000 a month. There's just a million different ways.
Gary!
Yes, how are you?
I'm amazing.
What's your name?
It's awesome to actually finally talk to you. Yes, I can hear you.
Great, what's your name?
Tiffany Garbin.
It's such a pleasure, Tiff. Where are you from?
Originally from Northern California, but I'm in SoCal, stationed at Camp Pendleton.
I love it. How can I help you?
You know what? I just chimed in. I'm not even sure what the topic is.
Okay, well the topic is you asked me a question and I answered it.
Okay. All right. So I'm stationed here at Camp Pendleton. I've been in the Marine Corps for about 11 and a half years. I'm kind of at that crossroad where, hey, do I ride it out to retirement, or because of basically my ambition level, there's a lot of limitations. There's a lot of limitations as to where I can go, what I can do.
Tiff, you already told me the answer. You know the answer. There's no way you know who I am, and there's no way that you state the first question in that form. You've already mentally and through your heart have shifted into the next chapter. First of all, thank you so much for what you've done for this amazing country. Second of all, it's now time for you to follow. You clearly want to do something else. You know that.
Yes.
There's 0% of you that wants to see this out and retire, correct?
I would like to do it for the fact that it's an accomplishment. I would hate to walk away from it and say, I did 14 years, because that would be the end of the contract that I'm currently on. Walk away from it and say, 6 more years I could have walked away with, retirement. Because I sacrificed a lot to get to this point. I'm a single parent. I got 3 kids to also think about as well.
The number one mistake that people make is they make decisions about their future based on what they did in the past.
Okay.
You just told me you're running a race that you're no longer as passionate about, and since you've ran most of it, you're just going to actually spend the next 10 years of your life running that race. My concern is that you're doing that for a certain part of financial freedom that intuitively I wonder, you have to answer for yourself, are you going to be happier in a decade riding that out, or will that hang over your head for the rest of your life of what if and what you could have done for the next 10 years?
Right. That's true.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, please.
Could you leave, try, and then come back and get the benefits? Do they allow that?
It would be a really long race to come back, to get out and then try to come back in. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I've honorably served, so I could ride out and then do like a active, like a reserve.
Stop shaking your head.
Component,
like throwing me off.
where I'm like halfway in, but it'd take a lot longer to retire. But I mean, I know that there's a lot of options. I think it's just the inability to have the flexibility that I need to be able to do the next level stuff, the side hustle, right? The extra stuff to where I can make my side hustle into something that was actually my hustle. Something that, like you said, that you're passionate about, that you wake up every day going, this is the next level stuff, and then once I get comfortable there, then take it to the next level, because it's never good to be comfortable.
Can I ask you how old you are?
31.
So let's play this out a little bit. Are you telling me that you can spend the next 10 years in the military and leave at 41 with a really good financial situation because you've served honorably for so long that puts you in a good spot?
Having the retirement wouldn't, obviously you can't completely live off that. I'll still have at least one under my roof.
Yep. At that point.
Time.
Yep. So look,
but
I would
definitely still have to work. Still have to work. I'd have to work on something else.
Man, this is, look, I'll be honest with you, this is a win-win situation. I think both will work, right? I really do. Here's why. If you decide to go 10 years, you're a baby. You'd literally be a year younger than I am right now when you get out. And if I told you how young that is, it would make your head spin. Basically the same exact way you feel young now, you'll feel at 41. I'm telling you that right now. So that's interesting. Number two, the fact that it doesn't create this massive, lottery event where it's like super easy and you're pensioning for 60 years. If you're gonna have to work anyway, then there's a really good argument for you to, bounce and do it now. Tiff, can I tell you something that really works for my life that I want to tell you right now that I think might work for yours?
Okay.
They're both right.
That's why it's hard. That's why I'm at the fork in the road.
No, I actually think,
I know no matter what.
I actually think people think
no matter what.
No, Tiff, I think a fork in the road is when you think one road is good and one road's not.
I'm optimistic, so I think that it's all good no matter what. I'm going to make it, you know. I think a lot of it plays. I'm an emotional person, so a lot of the decisions that I make are, you know, because like I said, I'm a single parent of 3. I've got a 3, 8, 9-year-old. I know you have a child too, right?
Animated. Yes, I have 2.
And it's hard because, like you said, you know, it's different, but at the same time, it's a lot the same. You know, you're gone a lot. Whether even if you're there, you're not really, you know, you're not really there. And it's like, you know, especially just wanting to be in their life because I had kids. I want to be able to. Well, listen. I want to raise my kids. I don't want other people.
Listen. Well, then that becomes a First of all, you've made this very easy. If you think both are going to work, and one's not letting spend time with the kids, and guess what? That doesn't come back 10 years from now. There's nothing to talk about here, Tiff.
It's easier said than done, though.
No, it's
still going to be very hard.
Fucking
very hard to reestablish.
Life is hard.
True.
Tiff, here's cool. It's going to be financially hard, but here's what I know. I always make bets on what's guaranteed versus what's not. If you leave now and you try to build a business and get a job with your kids right now, and you get to see them all the time, you 100% see your kids, right? And if you stay the military course, you 100% don't as much, right? That's 100%.
Unless the circumstances change, because different duties, you know, they move you around a lot. So circumstances, it's really just circumstances.
But you're not in control. Like your circumstance can change for 1 year, it goes well, and then 6 months later, like, Tiff, listen to me.
Inconsistency is terrible.
Here's what's guaranteed. If you leave, you will be with your kids, and your big thing of not missing and raising them, that's why you had them, you then accomplish. The financial part, you actually don't know. That's an unknown if you can make it in the private sector the way you've done in the military sector, but you've checked the known with your kids. Either you're, like there's really nothing else to say. Like, you're choosing, right this minute, financial stability, even better. You're choosing potential financial stability over being closer with your kids. You're choosing that. You understand that, right?
Yep, and nothing comes without sacrifice. It's just as a matter of, you know.
Here's my thing.
If you're willing.
Here's my thing. I think it's a curious jump to sacrifice the other way, which is give up the guaranteed financial freedom or stability and try to recreate it and live even more humbly with your kids in the first couple years to try to get there, but have all that time together if that's what you do. Look, I don't see my kids a lot by comparison to a lot of people, but I am utterly passionate. I can't breathe without doing what I'm doing right now.
Right, yeah.
That's different.
So it's worth it. It's worth the sacrifice. That's
a sacrifice I'm willing to do because I have to be the best dad to them, and I can do that in a lot of vacation time and the weekends. You know, everybody sees the business life. I don't share my personal life. So what do you think is happening on Saturday and Sunday? I'm leaving today at 4:30 in the afternoon. That's unheard of for me in the past. Why? Because I'm choosing more time with my kids, but I have to do what I'm doing, and I have to because I can't breathe. I would die if I was forced to not work and be Gary Vee and do VaynerMedia. I would die. I would leave my family. I would go to an island. I would die. I would shrivel. It's who I am. And so, so to me, that's passion. It's not about the money. There's a lot of things I could be doing to make a lot more money. It's about the legacy and the passion. And you know, for me, your situation is very clear, which is you clearly want to do the kids' time. You're scared if you can figure out the financial part, but the reality is, man, I don't know, like, fuck, live in a studio with the 3 of them. Let them be embarrassed that they don't have new clothes. Like, you'll never get the kids' time back. And I have a funny feeling just talking to you for 9 minutes and 32 seconds, you'll figure out the financial part, especially if I give you 3 years.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate your time, Gary. I know that there's probably other callers. We've talked before on Instagram, but I definitely going to take what you said into consideration. It definitely helps me to actually reach out to somebody outside the box. A lot of the individuals I've talked to are in the military right now, so it's kind of a,
Tiff,
different perspective.
Tiff,
I really appreciate it.
98, 99% of people play defense in life.
Yeah.
I play offense, and let me tell you who else plays offense. LeBron James, Beyonce, the governors of our country, like stay-at-home moms that would do nothing else but that for their whole lives. Like, love it more than breathing. Like, the people that play offense end up being the happiest because they're willing to eat shit in the short term for long-term happiness.
Short-term loss, long-term gain.
That's it. Of course the people in the military are going to tell you to stay. They're playing defense. They're imposing their insecurities on you.
Yeah. Yep.
And guess what's happening
while
while Rick at the military tells you, who loves it, and this is his passion, and he can't think of anything else. Every day that goes by, your kids are missing out on moments with you, and you want to have those moments. And you have other passions. If you told me serving this country is the only thing you can do, it's blindly in your blood, you can't breathe without it, this would be easy. I would tell you to do what I'm doing. That's not what you're telling me.
Right. Okay.
You're gonna resent the military if you stay all the way through. Just remember I said that for the rest of your life. If you stay there for the next 10 years, you will resent them because you're gonna blame that decision and that institution for missing out on all the moments your kids reference when they're older.
Yeah. That's definitely a different perspective on it that I hadn't really thought about.
Give it some thought. I love you. Good luck.
Thank you, Gary.
You're welcome.
I'll talk to you soon.
Oh, we're getting deep here
And you
on this
did. So what's your
episode.
initial thoughts on this?
So Tiffany is her name.
Tiffany,
What,
yes.
what is her last name? Does she even?
I don't think she. I don't think she released that. I think.
And she's a Marine.
Yep, Camp Pendleton.
And she's at the time 11 and a half years she's
Correct.
got in. And she's got 3 years left on her current enlistment. So that'll put her at about
14 years.
15. Because, you know how that goes in military time, folks.
Yeah, right, yeah.
You always end up with anyway.
And she's 31 now.
31 now. And so she obviously went in when she was, 18, 19, right? Is that the right math?
Well,
31. So she's been in 11 and a half. So now she's kind of a late bloomer.
Late
right?
bloomer, a little bit, yeah.
And you don't know if she's an officer or a enlisted member either.
Right.
It doesn't talk about that. So to me, that weighs too. So basically what it comes down to is she's asking Gary, should she follow her passion and get out and do whatever it is that she wants to do, right? And she never really specified either.
No, and here's the thing, and I think this is what makes it such a great talking point is she didn't really talk about getting out and pursuing a passion. She basically said, I'm at a crossroads where in a few years I've got a decision to either make it a career and do 20 or get out and
move on.
And I think I think that is more than anything the talking point. Now, Gary has some incredible points in terms of, being,
and that is one of his points.
And that is one of his points. And I think, so you go through and kind of talk about kind of where your head is in terms of if you were Gary,
right?
What advice would you have given her? Is it the same or different than what Gary would have?
I would have almost identical to the and I like how they kind of broke it down as he went through it, because you could see where he shifted too. And that's how I was, as I know I am all for staying in the military and retiring, because it does afford you a level of stability that you don't have in many other professions, right? So it offers you the stability after service, meaning.
Right. Correct.
So if you do your full 20, you get out and you have, as you know, Eddie, benefits are very, very important.
Yeah, that's right.
You have medical, dental,
for life, forever. Yeah.
Even if you have to pay a small amount, which you will, with co-pays and things like that. It's not like it's like having insurance, but you don't have to pay into it at all.
Right.
And that's a big freaking deal. You'll have incidentals and whatnot, but again, you're not paying $1,000 a month out of pocket for insurance.
Yeah, you got you got the GI Bill that you can extend to a child if you want to.
You have that. So there are definite advantages. To me, though, it's the big one is the benefits. So you and your kids, until they're of grown, or if you have a spouse, that also extends to them as well. That's $1,000. I mean, you might as well bank on it.
Mm-hmm.
It's anywhere from $600 to $1,000 a month for the rest of your life, just with that one benefit.
Yep. And here's the thing, right? She'll have 14 years by the time she gets out, right?
Right. So she has 6 left.
So she got 6 left. Now here's the deal: you can get out at 14 years, or you can get out at 4 years. Same benefits, 0.
Same exact benefits.
Right.
Other than if you went and then got hurt.
Yeah, right.
Then you're eligible for VA, but that again doesn't extend to your family.
No, right.
Or anything. So regardless, that's there are a lot of factors here. But
how many people do you know that get out short of their retirement and look back and say, "God damn it! If I would have just,"
they regret it.
If I would have just finished 6 years, if I would have just finished 10 years, if I would have just finished, whatever it is, like, I don't know anybody that looks back and says, man, I'm really glad I got out when I did. And
now,
let me back it up.
There is a hindsight.
There is hindsight.
Because here's the deal. Depending, and again, it's MOS dependent.
Yeah.
There's always a very good chance, like you or I would be dead. I mean, a really good chance, like probably double-digit figures a chance of being dead. Just because for a fact, I got out in 2003.
Yeah.
If I had stayed in for the next 10 years between 03 and 13, when I would have gotten out, when I would have retired, I would have deployed, 4 or 5 times.
Right. Me too.
And those deployments are rough.
Yeah.
I mean, but you don't know, you're rolling the dice.
Right.
It's really up to chance.
Mm-hmm.
Completely. Or do you get out? And this is why I got out. I said to myself, I didn't want to put my family through that. I didn't want to put my new wife through all that again.
Mm-hmm. I
put my first wife through it. And that was not even at a time of war.
Right.
That was just regular deployments and JTF missions and field time and everything else. I mean, I was still in a different unit that deployed a lot, but so it's just a small taste of that. And I didn't want to put them through it again because I knew that we wanted kids, and holy hell, man, I could only imagine. So
there are always extenuating circumstances that factor into a decision like this, right? Rank, MOS,
true story.
The nature of the environment today. I mean, obviously we're still deploying to God knows where these days.
And as her being a Marine, I mean, they have an active mission in both Iraq and Afghanistan.
Right.
And now a couple other places that are like new deployments. It's
Yeah. I mean, are they, are we kicking out as many troops, into the theater of war as we were back in the, 2005 through 2014 timeframe? No, I mean,
no, we're not. But we also, as the Marine Corps, as an expeditionary force, that's part of their life. That's part of their deal is they deploy, they go on float, they go different places. And it's not that the Army doesn't, it's just different. It's a different cycle.
Right.
And they, it's such a smaller force. You're talking 170,000 Marines versus 1.7 million Army folk.
Right.
So,
and I think
they have missions, they're going to rotate through pretty heavy.
Right. And I think that's her point. I think that was her biggest sticking point was losing more time with her kids. At the time, she's 31 years old. She's got 3 kids. I don't know their ages. She said that she'll still have one of them living under her roof after her
if she retired, even with her retired,
right? So we can only guess at her children's age, but so it seems like to be her sticking point. Now, the one thing that I did not hear her say that makes this decision an easy one for me is if she were to hop on with Gary Vee and say, Gary, right now I'm at 11 and a half years. I'll be at 14 by the time I have to really make this decision to stay the rest of the time in or to get out. But I really have this thing on the side here that's doing well,
right?
That I really want to pursue. And she, that never comes up. It was never about,
and that was kind of the drop point for me.
It was never this, I have this awesome, amazing thing. I have this opportunity that I could do. And in order for me to do that, I have to let the military go. It was just about this. I have a decision to make in a couple of years. Should I stay or should I go? And I don't want to miss any more time with my kids. Now that could be a good enough reason all by itself. But here's the deal. If you don't know, right? If you're, and she's in a very good spot. She really is. She's at 11 and a half years. She's got 14 till she has to really make a decision before her enlistment's up. And she's got some time, right, to develop, because here's the deal. If you don't know what you're going to do when you get out, you just know that you've got a decision to either stay or to go, but you have no idea what you're going to do if you were to get out. Dude, don't get out.
Yeah, and we've been saying that for the last 2 years.
Yeah, because we can both agree on that one, right?
And that's one of those things that I see it daily, folks, with my own eyes.
Oh yeah, me too.
People that don't, in my line of work, people that are the people that just say fuck it and get out.
Yeah,
that don't have a plan. I see these guys that end up homeless.
Yep.
I see these guys and gals that end up in
let's just hold on a minute. Let's assume that she's a woman. We know that, but let's assume she's an officer, right? So women officers don't end up homeless. Are you kidding me?
Are you kidding me? I say, are you kidding me?
Right? But a lot of people.
I've seen a couple. I can tell you after. I'm not going to. Obviously, I can't explain who they are, what they are, whatever. Yeah. But I can think of. I'm not kidding. Right off the top of my head, and this is just me. Mm-hmm. Right off the top of my head, I can think of 4 female officers, all ended up homeless, losing their kids, and hooked on drugs.
Yeah.
All 4 of them, sorry. 4 of them. And I could, if able, tell you their names, but I can't, obviously, because of confidentiality. 4 of them. Homeless, kids gone, on drugs.
And it wasn't
it boils down to they had no plan. They had obviously bigger problems, but they had no plan.
And I bring that up because when you hear homeless veteran, you think of this old World War or Vietnam vet standing on the corner with a cardboard sign, right? When you hear homeless veteran, that's what you envision. But the reality is, homeless veteran equals female veteran sleeping in car with kids, right? Yes, that's reality. Correct. It happens all the time.
Selling her body to pay for a heroin addiction, which started out as a opiate addiction from painkillers because she got blown up in an IED in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Roadside bomb.
So just because you're a woman, just because you're an officer,
Lieutenant Colonel.
Yeah.
She was a lieutenant colonel.
You're not immune to this.
Commander, dude.
Not immune to it. You got to think about that, right? You don't want to spend, you want to get out because you want to spend more time with your kids. Do you want to spend time with them in the homeless shelter? Do you want to spend time with them, when they're coming to visit you when you're in, I'm not saying that everybody that gets out ends up like this, but let me tell you, if you get out without a plan, you significantly increase the chances of you ending up that way. You just do.
Correct. Especially if you don't have a support system.
Exactly right.
But this is all part of that process.
Right.
This is all part of that transition process. If you have mental health issues that you're not addressing, they will exponentially increase when you get out. Yeah. I guarantee it, because your mission's gone. If you don't have that mission to fill that void, it's gone. You are going to go down a rabbit hole that's ugly unless you admit it and are smart and actually go get therapy and all that other shit. Don't get hooked on the drugs. There's so many layers to this.
Yeah.
And they're so very sneaky. They don't just rear their head right away. They will, all of a sudden, the next thing you know, you're literally addicted to whatever.
Yeah. And it's not always drugs, right?
For us, it's a lot of times it's,
Yeah.
opiates or alcohol, things like that. But, if you don't have this plan.
Let's assume that Tiffany isn't injured. She doesn't have an addiction problem. She's not an alcoholic. Like, she's going to exit the military clean, right?
Yep.
She doesn't have those dependencies. That's great. So let's talk about then some advice that we would give her if she, between now and 14 years, right? So she's got several years. What should she, if she made up her mind, I'm going to get out, right? What are some things that she should do? Like, at the end of the day, we've already agreed that if she doesn't have a plan, she shouldn't get out. So the first thing is to develop a plan. But what are some things that she could do today and start doing today, if she hasn't already, to prepare herself for success once she does get out in 14 years, if that's what she chooses to do?
Either whether or not she knows, all right, so she's 3 years out, whether or not she knows what she's doing when she gets out, right?
Mm-hmm.
The beginning of this planning thing is that whether she decides that she wants to do entrepreneurial stuff or get a job, right, to pay the bills, because we all have to pay for bills.
Yeah.
She needs to find somebody in that she needs to get a mentor.
Yes.
Right. Straight away. And there's so many free options, even with Veterati. And honestly, there are other veteran platforms like that, but I frankly don't know them off the top of my head because I just use Veterati.
Yeah.
It fills all my needs.
Yeah, man.
Or Facebook. Go out and find Facebook groups and ask these questions, because Gary, I love how Gary brings up the point. Everyone that she's talking to is in the military.
Right.
So
yeah.
she has, it's like we laugh about this all the time, and we joke about the TAPS classes, like the Saint Your Daddy's TAPS class, right?
Yeah.
When a sergeant major is trying to instruct you on what to do when you get out, that system is broken.
That's laughable, right?
Because the sergeant major or his wife have no idea what it's like in the real civilian world.
No fucking clue.
Per se. I mean, they might be intelligent people and they might know the theory, but they don't know it from lived experience, which is exponentially more, holds more weight than any degree that you could get. Yeah. When it comes to transition, there ain't no fucking degree in transition.
Nope, there isn't.
There's not. Because it's such a complex issue. I love how people try to just put it in a little box. Well, it's not that easy. There's so many more variables.
I mean, everyone's very well intentioned, right? I mean, they're not trying to steer you in the wrong direction. They're well intentioned.
But a lot of times they're putting their shit on you. Just like Gary even said it, now that I think about it, didn't he?
I think so.
Saying that they're putting how did he put it?
Yeah,
they're putting their own insecurities about getting out of the military onto her.
Right, because
they started the episode off doing that.
Right, exactly right. Because at the end of the day, the military has a vested interest for retention. It just does, right? You've got things in the military called retention officers, don't you? You don't have separation officers.
That's a really good point, right? They're not in the business of helping you get out.
No, they're not.
And for anyone to think that they do, they don't care. They really don't care. Once you're not in their books, that shit moves on.
Right.
I mean, the people might not, but the institution, don't give a fuck.
Right.
They're going on with the mission.
And that's not them being selfish. That's them maintaining. Every company, every organization has, statements of work. Every organization has mission statement and vision statement, right? Every company has a bottom line. Every company has stakeholders to some degree. Every business is in business to do what? To make money, right? The military is no different. The military is a business. The only difference is it's not necessarily the bottom line in terms of black or red that they're looking at. They're looking at their retention rate. They're looking at their ability to affect war in defense of this country. That's their mission. That's their job, right?
And especially the Marine Corps, their mission is to close with and destroy the enemy.
That's right.
It. That's pretty much it.
And helping,
goal.
And spending all of your time, money, and effort into helping people transition successfully out of the military is not in alignment with that mission. It just isn't. So it's not the military's fault. It's just that's not their mission, right? So then whose mission is it? Whose responsibility is it for that successful transition?
It's weird.
It's yours.
Yeah.
Right? Everyone wants to blame the military. Everyone wants to blame the VA. Everybody wants to blame everyone else but themselves. Listen, you are responsible for your own transition, period and amen. And if you do it well, that's on you. If you do it not so well, that's also on you. Okay? Now, does the military owe you something once you get out? Maybe. Depends on, if you get injured and you're 30 or 40 or 50% disabled, maybe you're owed a percent disability once you get out. You've earned the GI Bill, so they owe you money to go to college if you want to. Like those things are called benefits, right? But they don't owe you a successful transition.
No,
they don't. A lot of people expect or think that they do, right? Because I put it to you like this: when I talk to a lot of veterans that feel that the military is responsible for providing this level of separation services to the military, I say it like this, right? I've worked for several corporate companies now, post-military, and when I leave one company, like, thank you very much, have a nice day. Here's your final paycheck, or whatever the case may be. They're not sitting here like, are you okay? Do you need help with your resume? Can I help you interview? Let's do some mock interviews to make sure you're set up for your next job. Like they don't do this in corporate America, right? When you leave one company and you're looking for a job in another company, or you get laid off or you get fired or whatever the case may be, like, that company is no longer responsible for you, period. They just aren't. It's not up to them to make sure that you have a successful transition to your next job. It's not their job. Why do we think then that the military has that same? Why do we think that should be different from the military?
Because they're trying to find somebody to blame for all these issues.
Yes,
it's because truly they're not. All right, so we're opening a can of worms that I know is a whole nother episode.
This is a whole nother episode.
No, I know it is, because there is a transition from like DOD responsibility to VA responsibility.
Yeah.
But we really don't need to go into that here. It's kind of counterproductive because nothing's happening that should.
Yeah.
Basically. So and it's just my opinion, but I also look at their missions, and it's totally the VA's mission.
Right.
But back to this episode, I think what it really comes down to in the end, and I feel like the end of this episode kind of wraps that up in a little bow, because and you know what it's like. You had kids when you got out, right?
Oh yeah. Yep.
So that for me is, I really understood. I got to a point where I really understood how important family was.
Yeah, absolutely. Above
everything else. At the end of the day, as we like to say, family trumps that. But you have to have food on your table, right?
Right. Spending time with your family is honorable, but you have an obligation as a parent to provide.
And this is why we always say here at Change Your POV and Bennett and Eddie, we say you have to, if you don't have a plan, actually like 3 plans, plans with Fragos.
Yep.
You don't have a freaking 5-paragraph order on transition, and you don't have a couple what if Fragos in your back pocket, don't get out.
So number one, this is attack Friday. Actionable tips, tricks, and coachable knowledge. Number one, have a plan to stay in and have a plan to get out. You should have both, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you don't,
Yep.
then you're not looking at it you're not looking at your options in a light that is beneficial for you. It's not, if you do not have a plan to both stay in and a plan to stay out, then you're not looking at it in a perspective of making a good decision one way or the other, period. Right?
Right. Correct.
So number one, have a plan to stay in, have a plan to get out. Number two is find a mentor. Now, your mentors need to be somebody. Now, again, plan to stay in, your mentor should include somebody within the military. Plan to get out, that mentor should be somebody not in the military. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah. No, I mean, yes. Give me a break. That's kind of.
And then remember,
because you need to go somewhere where somebody's been.
Right.
So it's not, we say mentor, but what I really mean is like a mentor peer.
Right.
Really, truly somebody that's walked the path that you want to go.
It's like if you want to hike, if you want to climb Mount Everest, right? The person you want to talk to is someone that's climbed Mount Everest,
right?
Right?
If you want to, be successful in marriage, don't talk to your buddy that's been divorced 3 times.
Right.
Now, he might be an insight of knowledge on what to fucking do.
Right.
But he's definitely probably not, his knowledge comes from, oh my God, I did this. I should have done this. Right.
Yeah. That's right.
Take that advice maybe, but let's at least make your mentor / the person you want to emulate, the couple that's been married 78 years.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Not the guy that's been divorced 4 times.
Exactly. And Tiffany, keep in mind that even if you choose to stay in, there will come a day, and it comes to everyone, whether they stay in for 14 years or 22 years or 30 years or 40 years in the military, there will come a day to everyone where you will take that uniform off for the very last time. And you will effectively become a veteran. Okay. So that day is coming, whether it's coming in 3 years or it's coming in 10, it's coming. So you have to prepare to get out. And the sooner you can do that, the better off you're going to be when you finally transition. Okay. So staying in now, that's just, again, staying in is a choice that's temporary. It's got a shelf life. And you're going to get out at some point. So you always have to be thinking about your plan to get out, always. So that's number one. Have a plan to stay in, plan to get out. Number two is have a mentor. If you're going to stay in, have a mentor that's in. I recommend if you're going to stay in, have a mentor that's in and a mentor that's out. And if you're planning on getting out, you need to have several mentors that are out. All right. Number three, realize that your time in service has a shelf life. You are going to get out eventually, and you need to start thinking about that plan, whether it's 10 years away or 15 years away or 3 years away. You need to start thinking about it now. Number four, and I think we've talked about this so much, sometimes we forget to even mention it, and it's network.
Yes. It's other than having a effective mentor, it's the single largest piece to this puzzle is having a network. Now you're kind of built in. It's easy to get on Facebook and go find especially as a Marine, Tiffany, once a Marine, always a Marine. They're out there. There's Marine Corps sites, Marine Corps basic success sites that are dedicated to Marines helping other Marines. Mm-hmm. It's just something special there that doesn't necessarily happen with other services. I see it happen with special units like the Rangers and SF and things like that. But the Marine Corps, being as small as it is, it's a brotherhood, sisterhood, and there's people out there that want to help you. So get connected with mm-hmm. those people.
And tip number 5 is start now, right? Whatever it is that you want to do post-military, you don't have to wait till you get out. Start now. Develop that network, create your audience, start creating content, start branding yourself a little bit, get into that realm or that sphere or that ecosystem that is whatever it is you want to get into. Maybe you're interested in philanthropy and you want to do something in that realm when you get out. Maybe you're interested in politics and you want to get out and maybe become be a legislator or something. Maybe you're interested in, I don't know, baking or something and you want to start your own shop when you get out, whatever it is that you want to do that you have interest in,
You could get started now.
you get started now, right? Because yes, you're busy, you're a Marine, you're deploying here, you're training there, all this. But you know what? Let's be honest. We all know that anyone that serves, we all know you got plenty of downtime too.
Plenty of downtime, whether
Right?
it's reading a book, listening to podcasts, at the very least,
Yep.
educate yourself.
I had I was Fort Hood for 8 years of my 10 years. Well, no, 7 of my 10 years. I was on Fort Hood, and I've always lived off post for the most part. There was a time where I had on base housing, but that was not very long. And by the time I made the list, I got like deployment orders to go to Korea a few months later. So I was only on post for a few months. But so most of my time was out in Killeen or in Copper Cove. If you're in that area, you're familiar with that. And it would take me, it depends on the day and what time I left my house. But I had a commute to work in the morning to go to PT, and then I would run home really quick, take a shower, grab something to eat, change my clothes, and then head back in for morning formation. That time spent in the car was missed opportunities. I could have been listening to podcasts. I could have been listening to audiobooks. I could have been preparing myself and thinking about life outside the military. But I was so narrow-minded, that didn't even cross my mind. I did not even consider the fact that I was going to be out of the military someday. Didn't even think about it. Right?
And what's funny is you got out and started your own fucking business.
And failed miserably.
Right.
Yes. Right?
Right? Yeah.
So,
same here. Same here.
Yeah.
I had a little different path, but I still failed spectacularly.
Yeah, man.
The first time I got out was a spectacular failure.
Yep.
I'm just lucky that my whole family didn't end up homeless. Seriously. Yep. Very lucky. And that was because of drive. Frankly, to me, because I took that home, I had to take that responsibility. And yeah, there's days I frankly didn't eat, but my daughter always did.
Yep.
When you have a family of 4, basically we were feeding 4, and you had $40 to buy a week's worth of groceries, shit gets real.
Yeah.
And $40, thank God we even had that. It could, and you know what? I got that because I donated plasma.
Yeah,
So
I've been there, man.
Been there, done
been
that.
there, done that. Yeah.
Got the t-shirt. That was the first time I transitioned. I had gone from being stockbroker, got out, stockbroker, cop, couple, you know what I mean? Jesus Christ, of hopping all over the place. And, I had a plan, and that plan fucking failed. It did. It did. But I didn't have any other plan. And That's right. Sure as hell didn't have the network, because I dropped my rucksack as soon as I walked off post, and I was like, fuck this. I'm never talking to these motherfuckers again.
Right. Yeah.
That's literally what it was.
Yeah.
And then the second transition, I was way better because I had a job when I got out, but then I went into the business the security business 2 years after I got out. Holy fuck.
Yep.
Spectacular failure. I wasn't dropping trees on Coors Light cans like Eddie was watching badass dudes do.
Jesus, yeah, man.
But wow, getting sued by multinational corporations is pretty fun too.
Oh, I bet it is. All right, so we're wrapping this up, Tiffany. I hope this is now back really quick, Ben. I got to tell you. So this is the first time I had a chance to actually watch one of Gary Vee's shows on YouTube, because it's all been through audio. And here's a couple things. Here's some takeaways from actually watching his show. He's in his little conference room, around a table, around a like a little conference telephone. The conference, the triangular shaped conference telephone.
Yes,
you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, hell yeah.
So that's what he's basically on, and directly to his right is a whiteboard on the wall. Now, in the middle of conversation, he gets up and grabs a marker and he starts using the whiteboard to explain himself. And I just had to chuckle a little bit, because that's so me, dude. Like, I love whiteboards to be able to scribble shit on and help explain my thought process. And so when he started to do that, I was like, I so saw myself in him. So that's the first thing that I picked up on watching this. The other thing that I picked up on, and I thought was really cool, is in the reflection of the glass right outside the window is flying a POW MIA flag. Now, I don't know if he owns that whole building or if he's responsible for that, but I just thought that was really kind of cool. I know that Gary's a huge fan of military folks and veterans in particular, and and he's not a veteran himself, nor has he served, but he understands the sacrifice, right, that we all make to serve this country, and he recognizes that, and he even did so with Tiffany. So huge mad props to Gary and everything that he does. And you know what? Answering this question, not being a veteran himself, it's not an easy thing to do, but he took a stab at it, and I thought he did a really good job without understanding a lot of the intricacies that is being a military person.
The intricacies and nuances. I
right.
His whole deal is follow your passion.
Yeah,
and,
totally agree with that.
And I think she got the message loud and clear, and hopefully, takes that advice into consideration and becomes as successful out of uniform as she does while she was in.
Amen. That's our mantra. So recap, 5 things that you should do if you're thinking about transitioning out of the military and you're not entirely sure whether you should or not. You're at that crossroads, as Tiffany said. Number 1, have a plan to stay in and have a plan to get out. Number 2, have a mentor for both of those plans or several mentors. And we recommend using Veterati, and that's VETERITI.com, Veterati.com. Number 3, staying in has a shelf life. There will come a day where you're going to get out eventually anyway. So you can't put that out of your mind forever. You got to think about it. Sooner the better. Number 4, have a network, develop a network, build your network. If that word is foreign to you, you need to get educated. Network, because everything in this world happens through your network. Because you know what? People don't want to do business with businesses. People want to do business with people. People don't want to hire some name on a resume. People want to hire somebody they know, like, and trust. And the only way you can get that is through networking with folks. Number 5 is start now. Right? You got 2 years to get out, start now. You got 6 months to get out, start now. You got 10 years before you get out, start now. Always start now. Always start thinking about your life post-military. What does that look like? What are you passionate in? What are you knowledgeable in? What are you not knowledgeable in? Understand your weaknesses and your strengths. Identify where your gaps are and figure out a way to close those gaps the best way you know how. In the military, we do it all the time. We close with and then destroy the enemy, right? Close with, right? How do you close with? Well, sometimes close with is crossing a street. Sometimes close with is crossing a river. Sometimes close with is, crossing a chasm. Sometimes close with is running across an open field of and being exposed to, RPG and small arms fire. Like, close with is the challenge. Close with is not the easy part. Destroying the enemy once you're there, that's usually easier.
We all know how to do that.
Right? That's easy. It's the close with part. The close with part is always the variable that we don't know, and we are always training for in the military through different contingencies, right? The close with is the variable we don't know. Destroying the enemy is the easy part, right? Getting out of the military, right? Finally signing that DD-214 and getting out of the military, like that's when you should be destroying the enemy. The closing with part, that's the preparation that happens between now and then. And that's the part that's hard. That's the part you have to figure out. And that's our advice for Tiffany. Thanks, Gary, for your show. Thanks, Tiffany, for raising the question. It's always nice to listen to this conversation outside of the quote unquote solid veteran community. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah.
I love it.
So thank you, sir. I appreciate your time. And folks, you can listen to all of the shows over on the Change Your POV podcast network by heading over to changeyourpov.com. We got a lot of amazing shows over there from so many of our incredible hosts. Most are veterans, some are not, but we all have a different perspective on success post-military, and we highly encourage you to go and check that out. Again, that's changeyourpov.com. And make sure to subscribe to the show by heading over to iTunes, Stitcher, Player FM, any other podcast aggregator of your choice, and subscribing. And hey, you know what? Be sure to leave us a positive rating and review. Actually, it doesn't even have to be positive. We just want it to be honest. Leave us an honest rating and review. If you like the show, if you don't like the show, let us know what you think of the show. Give us a rating and review. It helps other people find the show. And share it with your friends, your family, people that you have that that served. Maybe you're listening to this, you're active duty, and share it around. there's nothing wrong with becoming more educated in your life before you get out, because you know what? It's coming. It's coming to a theater near you, whether you're ready for it or not. You are going to take off that uniform at some point in your life. And that's going to be a pivotal moment for you. It is for everyone who we've ever talked with, including ourselves, to crumple that, as Jeff Atomic would say, crumpling that uniform and throwing it into the corner and looking at what his life, the culmination of his life in the military after 18 years serving in the 82nd, serving in the 75th Ranger Regiment, and serving in the 3rd Special Forces Group. And he says, man, you know, the military, the Army just wouldn't let me be a soldier anymore. And he had so much of himself wrapped up into his life, into his career as a soldier. And it's difficult to take that uniform off for the last time, because so much of you has gone into it. And again, like you said, Bennett, it's that purpose. It's that meaning.
Got to find that next mission.
You got to find the next mission. You have to. It's not a nice to have. It's a must have. So there you go, folks. Actionable tips, tricks, and coachable knowledge. Thanks for tuning in. We look forward to talking to you next week.
With